welcome again to another interview question and answer session on Tech Bites. And today we have someone who is, a seasoned professional and currently works at Dell Technologies in the United States. I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting conversation and you're going to benefit a lot. But during the course of this interview as well, he will be telling us about himself and what it does at Dell Technologies. Though the focus of this session is to provide our viewers with understanding how product management works in big tech. I'm sure it's a bit different from the usual small startup, small company setup than the way they do it in big tech. So we want to just have that understanding, and for those who also want to get into big tech, you will know what it takes and how you can benefit from it as well, or the steps you can take, to get there. Welcome, Subomi, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you. And can you just briefly tell us about yourself and what you do at Dell Technologies?
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. We've actually known each other for so long. I think it's probably about 10 years, I would say. So it's been quite some time. Yeah. So my name is Subomi. Currently, I work as a product manager for Dell Technologies, working on their cloud business. And what we do there is basically just help enterprise customers get the best they can from the cloud infrastructure and help them manage it in a very efficient way. That's very high level what it is.
All right. Now, maybe a good question would be, how did you get to where you are? What's your background professionally? How did you get a job at Dell? What were the things you had to do? Can you just walk us through that?
Yeah, of course. So I was never really in the tech side of things at any point in my life. I mean, I liked technology, very funny, very interesting, but at the same time, it wasn't something I did as a day-to-day thing. Undergrad, I was a chemical engineer. So I studied chemical engineering for 5 years at Cambridge University. And I think in my third year, I began to think, I don't think I really enjoyed this that much, to be honest. And so I went to the oil and gas for a while, did that for a bit. Eventually, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. So I think one day I called Tim. I was like, I have this idea for a whole tech business. So how can we do it? So we talked about it, we ran through it, kind of talked through the details. Went to go and validate our idea in the market. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do this. So he was, the brains behind in terms of like the CTO. I was, out there getting customers and kind of like building the product roadmap and things like that. And
it was basically the CEO, don't mind him.
So basically, like that entire process, taking it from 0 to 1. I think it pretty much opened my eyes to what product management is and the different points in which a product manager, what they do in the day-to-day. It kind of showed me. So from writing requirements all the way to talking with engineering to doing user research, it gave me that really wide breadth of things that we possibly do. And after we did this for a while, amazing experience. Could have done it without Tim for sure. After that, I actually went to do my master's degree in engineering management here in the US. And that also really opened my breadth as well to what product management is. After that, I was there for about a year and a half. Then started working with Dell Technologies as a product manager full time, as I am right now. So that's kind of like how I went from chemical engineering all the way to product management. Very interesting switch, but definitely very fun and good learning. Yeah.
This is a practical experience here, and for our viewers watching, if you missed our video on product management, you will see that one of the ways we talked about was the education focused way where you can get into product management. And I think you mentioned I did a master's in engineering management. So others areas you can take a certification and the likes. But I mean, this is someone practical now telling us his journey. Thank you so much. I think this will inspire some people that will say, I don't have anything tech background, I'm not, it's, you don't have to have a background in tech. You can and I'm sure you're doing pretty well now.
Of
So
course, yeah.
just like a general overview, what exactly what does your daily routine look like? Do you have multiple products you're managing? How does it work? Like when you go into work, like on a regular day, without giving out too much, information about core details. Just give us an idea.
Yeah, of course. So for what we do on a day to day, it really depends on your level. Someone who is more junior might be doing things along the lines of, maybe managing customer requests or talking to like tech support to understand what customers are really talking about in the market and issues they're facing. As you go higher in the org, you begin to less be. It could be either of the two cases. You could hone in on basic features. So maybe you are in the tech space and you do fintech. Maybe your core competency is maybe growth strategy, or your core competency could be something along the lines of how do we get product to market. So it becomes very high level as you kind of grow in your role.
Go up, yeah.
But my day to day, what it really looks like more or less, because I would say I'm like say mid level. Is a lot of things we do is around prioritization. So customers have requests. Customers will always ask for things, right? You can't change that. The question now is, how do we ensure that we're delivering what customers want, while at the same time ensuring that it meets this business goal? So that's very high level, but it kind of gives you a good idea of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And the reason I really focus on prioritization is you need to know exactly what the business is trying to achieve, what the customer is trying to achieve, and then find where they intersect to know how to prioritize what you need, to kind of like execute on a daily basis. And the truth is, most companies will have their own prioritization framework. It can be, some type of metric or some type of formula that combines business goal, customer needs, and maybe the effort to build for these different products, and they can't come up with some sort of rubric. But generally speaking, that's how it goes. So most days you are working with the engineering team, or talking to customers, or find out how to prioritize, or think about new features you could build into your product to give customers this new experience. So, and one more thing actually, is a lot of meetings. A lot of meetings. It's just part of the job, right? So you're working with many teams. Collaboration is very important. Sales, engineering, marketing. So you're meeting them on a daily basis to see maybe updates of the product or status of the product. And it can be very weird because you have so many meetings. When do you have time to do your actual job? But it's also a lot of time management. So you have a meeting from this and this time. Now you have to time box yourself to execute your tasks for the day. So I would say very high level, that's actually how my day-to-day usually is.
Exactly. So I'm very on point. I mean, that really answers the questions, really.
Yeah.
So from what I'm hearing, someone who is a product manager must be multitasking. You must be able to communicate well. You must be able to time management. So that's good.
Yeah.
Now, you already mentioned that you did a master's, in engineering management. Was that all it took for you? Aside the experience, you had an experience with building a startup. If you have time, we might dive into that. And give us a bit more on that as well. Now that we have you on the call. So anyway, so we do see that was just what you did, no certification, nothing other than just that master's that was able to.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how did you get into Dell? What did you have to do to get into Dell?
A good question. So I'll answer the first question, then the Dell question after that, like how I got into it. I think probably one of the most important things you need to have to do product management is be genuinely curious about technology. Just be curious. Ask, because what PMs do, if we kind of put it in a whole circle, all they're asking is why. That's all they're asking. So why should we build this? How do we justify why to build this? What data points are backing our direction in this? So as a PM, if to show that you really have good product sense, is always ask why. So want to launch this feature. Why are we launching it? Why are our customers asking for it? Why is it good for us as a business? Why would it give us revenue or profit or increase our engagement on the platform? So always asking why in every situation. Do I think that my master's was the only thing that got me? No. It's important. Well, I would say it depends. It's not a necessary step. It's a good step. It's not necessary. But at the same time, I think what really got me in was, I think, one, being genuinely curious about technology and also building the stuff that we talked about. I think that's also very important. Because it's a one thing having certification, which is good. But it just shows that, you're able to like take knowledge and push it back. But I think one of the most important things is actually building something. It shows that you've had that experience in taking a product from 0 to 1, because you will learn more by doing than just reading. So I think having that repetitive cycle of, okay, I want to build something, try it out. Nobody has ever used the product. Just the fact that you take it from 0 to 1 is extremely important. But I do think that there is a place for certifications where it gives you understand more about the lingo, about the industry. You can talk more about it. The high level details about what PM is, maybe product owners, user stories, writing epics, things like that. But then I think doing a project now even puts all those theory into perspective and gives that practical knowledge that you really always want to have. So it's a mix. Do you have to go to school? Not necessarily. Is it good? Yes. But it's not a necessary step. I would say focus on building, trying out, how to get things from 0 to 1. I think that gives you a good breadth of knowledge to actually get to product management.
Okay. A follow-up to that question now. I want to get a bit practical. So did you apply to Dell to work at Dell?
Yes.
And how long did it take your application? What was the process like?
Okay. Yeah. So I think most companies have very different processes, but if to talk more about how Dell is, the first thing I actually did, and just to caveat a very important point, is it's always easier to get into a company if you intern with the company. It's almost, I won't say it's certain, but there's a good chance you'll get a full-time offer. But it's almost the same for full-time and internship. I'm going to walk you through. So for the full-time, I applied definitely with my resume. They had a timeline for application. I applied, got an interview maybe a few weeks later. The interview process could depend. So there are different types of product manager interviews. It could be product sense, analytical, maybe estimation, and then obviously we have the last one as behavioral, which many of us already know. For Dell, it was more of product sense and then behavioral. So what does product sense look like? It's things along the lines of, how do we design, how can we improve maybe Spotify? Or how can we design a new product for pregnant women or people in wheelchairs? So it's taking the ambiguous and bringing it, asking the right questions, bring it to perspective, and that way you can build the product that users actually would use in the first place, right? So I went through that. I think I had 3 rounds. So first round was product sense, second round was behavioral, and third round was, they call it fit. So just to kind of see who you are and see if you're a fit for the company and culture and things like that. So that's kind of how the process was. So went through the different ones, obviously practiced, and then got the offer at the end.
You dusted every one of those processes. So maybe probably we might have maybe another session for preparing for interview at Big Tech. So we can have different ideas from people that can help other people to land the same similar kind of roles. So cool stuff. Yeah. This is a lot of value you're getting. So I mean, this will be a good time for you to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications. There's still more coming. Yeah. So I think you briefly touched on a point when you were talking about having meetings.
Yes.
And so the question I want to ask in that regard is, what other challenges do you see or have you experienced with working as a PM in a big company, big tech? Aside the meetings, what other challenges have you noticed or experienced so far?
That's a good question. So within big tech, I think one of the biggest things people tell you they face is these companies are huge. I want to say huge. Think of about 50 to 100,000 people within one company. So for a PM, one of the most important skills you need to have is how to influence without authority. Because even though you're leading these design engineering teams, the truth is that you really don't have any power over them. You cannot sack anybody. You cannot tell them, okay, you need to do this and this. But that's only one thing that is very hard to do, because you are leading the team without actually having direct authority over them, right? So the way you probably want to approach something like that is, first, you always come with data to back up anything you have. So you go to an engineer and say, oh, we need to build this feature. You never approach it that way. It's more like you go to him and explain to him the persona behind it first. So Sarah needs to do this, this, and this, and this feature will help her get there, right? That will give them more clarity. And the other piece of it is you need to be able to communicate well and be able to talk to people in a way that you can convince them of what you want them to do. And this is not deception. It's more or less like you need to be very friendly with people. Be very cautious, be very friendly, talk to them. Yes, you are going to work, but also don't be afraid to take it out of the work. Like, oh, yeah, we need to do this, but how is your kid? How is your family doing? Just be very holistic in the whole sense. So it's not just work. So being able to have that one-on-one experience with the different team members goes a long way. Your engineer, you should always have an engineer that's very close to you, engineer and program manager. Those people will save your life any day. Because the engineer is very much focused on, okay, how do we build this, right? The program manager is the one that is managing your timeline for that product. So you need to be best friends with some of them, have them, on speed dial at all times and in every single case, right? So because they are in the weeds of things. You kind of manage very high level strategy of everything that's going on, but then the weeds, they can tell you what's going on, what needs to be done. But yeah, I think that's probably the most difficult thing to learn. You can learn how to code, you can learn to do other kind of things. Those are like, tangible skills, but skills that are soft, you need to also develop them a lot as a PM, as that will help you grow and, be more influential within the organization.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm hearing a lot of, interpersonal skills.
Yeah, a lot.
In relating with people.
Skills, yes.
Yeah. So now, a follow-up again to that question would be, now, what would you say? Would you say you enjoy big tech more than a startup or a small company as product manager?
That's a good question. Question. Huh?
Which would you say you? Of course, there are pros and cons, and but
there are pros and cons. Sure,
but which would you say that is? Well, okay, let me help you out. Let me say, which one is more challenging, and which one demands more? Well, it's almost the same thing. Which one demands more? Or which one is most challenging, and which one do you think that you might, stay longer at?
I mean, I think, as you said, there are pros and cons to both. From a big tech perspective, a really good thing they have going for them is there are already processes in place for you. You're not coming there to kind of like figure out what to do. It's there. So you come there every day, you know exactly what to do, who to report to. It's pretty much set up for you. In startup, as you know as well, Tim, that is chaos because you're trying to figure everything out on the fly. It is a lot going on at once because as a startup, you don't have the process in place to get things done. Everyone is doing everything. There are no dedicated rules for people to do whatever they want to do. In terms of easier, I would say it might be easier in big tech. As I said, already set processes in place for you to get things done. And that might most be for people early in their career. It not be a bad thing to have. So you have that process. You kind of learn how things are actually meant to be done. Because it might be easier for you to go to a startup because now you know how it's done. You can always, kind of fine-tune it for your startup. From a startup perspective, coming from there, it's not a bad thing. I think you'll be very resilient coming from a startup, but you might not really know how things are structured. That might be the downside of it. So there are pros and cons for each. If I say which I found more fun, definitely startup for sure. Because maybe it's the joy in the chaos. There's also part of it. That joy in, okay, how do we figure this thing out, Sha? Let's just get it done at the end of the day. But yeah, I think there's a side for both. You can always enjoy both. Nothing's wrong with it. But it just depends on your appetite for risk and maybe also as well as the issue
adventure.
Adventure, yeah, I think that's a good point. Adventure. Are you willing to like risk it all, the adventure? Or yeah, you just like, things to be more calm and already waiting for you and all set. So it depends.
I think just talking, I think probably we might have another session talking about should I build my startup or I should go and work at the company?
That's a good point. I think it's very important. That's a good one.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, you see, a lot of things going on. Please just subscribe. Yeah. We've got a lot. We've got a lot coming. So yeah, just giving us super quality stuff here. Now, what I know that you might not be able to go into details on this next question, but just an overview, or let me I'll try and paraphrase it now in my head.
Yeah.
So, how do you manage customer expectations with business goals? So the business goal might be, we want to achieve this and this and this. And then when you push things out, customers are saying, no, this is not what we want. This is the experience, and they're giving feedback and the likes. How do you manage that? And what do you define as success? What metrics do you look out to define that this is a successful product? Yeah.
That's a good question. So when you are thinking about, I think the metrics are like the end goal. But I think initially you started off with what is the goal of the business? What does the customer want to do?
Exactly. How do you manage the disparity when customers are saying something that is not really similar or aligning to what the business has in mind?
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question to ask, because the truth is everything a business does has to tie back to obviously what the customer wants, but what is the business goal? Like, what are we trying to do as a business? Like, for example, if you see Spotify making pots and pans, you'd be like, how is that tied into anything they are doing? So if a customer asks they want a new pot, it doesn't make sense for Spotify to actually go build it, right? So one thing we always look at is ensuring that whatever we're building ties to our goal, but also helps the customer. But more often than not, customers ask for a lot of things. Some things you really just can't deliver. You just can't, just what it is, right? And it might differ for B2C and B2B depending, because B2B is heavily enterprise driven, and so money is a huge factor in these kind of things. So to balance it, you kind of have to look at, is this need actually need the customer has, and are we well positioned to actually deliver on these needs? So, for example, let's say you want to build something new for a customer asks for a new development. The truth is, most big companies don't want to always risk doing something new that they not built before, because it's like, do we want to fail in the market and potentially never recover from this? So they are a bit more less. They take less risks because you don't want to destroy a business you spent years building. Which is another thing that if you go to the startup area, sometimes you can just build anything, and in worst case, you'll be okay. So I think you can move on.
I think I understand perfectly what you're saying. So I think that would lead to my even next question now, which probably I should have even asked at the beginning. But I think because some of your offerings are more to businesses. If you might not be able to build that is tailor specific to just a single business,
exactly,
commit resources and all that, and it's just one person using it and the likes. So I think that further leads to the question: can you give us a scope of what Dell even does generally? Because I mean, most people, feel, I mean, it's just laptop now. You're just producing laptops, personal computers, and that's what most people know what Dell for and their interactions with Dell. Are there other things that Dell does that quite generally not aware about?
Yeah, no, Dell is a pretty big company. So if you say Dell did laptops or does laptops, you're very right. But this all really changed in about 2016 when they acquired this company called EMC. And this company was basically doing data storage, servers, networking, virtualization, so that scope of thing. So they were acquired in 2016, and from then on, the company went from being called Dell to Dell Technologies, incorporating both the laptops and the storage and server business. So as of now, they do a lot of things. They do both laptop, server business, and things like that. So it's a whole gambit of things because it's interesting. It's one company, but people work on different sides. For example, my role is really focused on as a PM, cloud storage, and basically just that space, cloud storage. So that's the data centers. So, but if you think data centers, that's basically what we do. The equipment that actually sits in data centers. But you need to also know that even though these are hardware offerings, most engineers, if not maybe about 90% of the engineers at Dell, are software engineers because everything is software driven. For example, if you have your laptop, if you have a Mac or a Windows, imagine having the laptop but no OS. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a box, right? So, and most of the capabilities that are on the system, for example, if we look at a data storage system, things like duplication, replication, algorithms for encryption, they're all heavily software driven. So you need to actually build for that. The hardware is more of a supply chain thing, while the software delivery is more of the product management thing, where you can work with engineering design team to actually get these things into market. So and we have a lot of customers, in the place. So think a lot of the Fortune 500 companies are products, a lot of the fan companies, the hyperscalers like AWS, Google Cloud. So a lot of really, really big customers that we have. So yeah, it's a really big booming business for us.
Cool. So why that question is relevant is people can begin to have an idea of how different roles that they can be part of within that organization. So they just feel like I'm not a hardware person. So
which is true. Yeah, and the truth is that most of this. Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, I mean, just like you have said now, there's a lot of heavy software involved, and driver. I know at least, even if I don't know much, they'll be doing driver updates, and now they're even talking about cloud. I mean, a lot of security stuff will be going on and all that.
Exactly, security, provisioning your data storage systems. So basically, it's more or less what the way I think about it is think of it like a public cloud. It's like AWS, but instead of AWS managing your infrastructure, now you can manage it yourself once you buy the hardware and software from there. That's basically how I think about it.
So just a random question that I just came into. So if I want to build my own data center, like, can I just say I want to buy from Dell and they'll send it to me, or how does it? I
believe anybody can pretty much buy the equipment. There's no
buy it. Once you know what you need.
Yes,
just make the place the order. But do they have like websites that you go to and place the order? How do I go about it?
Yeah. You just go to Dell.com and just look for server storage and everything. You just go and buy it. I think that maybe is where the friction lies. Those who know what they are doing to actually build a data center or a cloud environment, maybe private cloud or hybrid cloud, So
maybe when you give me some dollars, I can play around with one of my own. I can one of my own. I think one of the other questions I wanted to ask you, I've actually flogged that question in the course of your discussion, talking about cross-functional collaboration, and how is it effectively manage across engineering, sales, marketing, design, But one thing I just wanted to say again is there, not obviously, I'm sure you cannot give too much. Every organization probably will have the way they do it. Do you have some sort of software within the organization that you use as a collaboration tool that everybody uses and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, for collaboration, as most people probably already know, for most collaboration software, it is more maybe Slack or Teams or any of these kind of different variations, right? It just depends on where your company likes. Maybe might be Gmail
Okay.
or something. So yeah, it's pretty much the same across most organizations. Some organizations do have their own like inbuilt collaboration tools, but the question you have to really ask yourself is it worth building an internal tool for collaboration or just leveraging outside ones, you know? And that's also probably one important skill of a product manager, trade-offs. Do we want to do this or this? And it's not just, I feel like me. It's never like I feel. No. You can't do by your gut. It's more like data points that show you a direction to go. So to give an example, let's say you want to use, for example, let's say, okay, you are a PM for Instagram, right? And they say, do you want to show stories for 24 or 48 hours? You know, how do you decide on that? Well, you have to think of it, okay, what is the metric that drives success for Instagram stories? Something like, let's even say, number of stories you watch in a day. Now, look at it from a 24 hours perspective. If we leave 24 hours, how does it drive that metric up and down? Then for these hours, up and down. Look at both sides and really understand, okay, how are we ensuring that we're not having an issue on one end and cause a problem on the other end? So just showing that trade-off on ensuring that you have data points to show we should do this over this. So just another thing that I thought to mention, because it's a very important skill for product managers to kind of make sure they know how to decide between X and Y. It's super important, yeah.
Cool stuff. I mean, I really wish we can go on and on and on, you know, just exploring some other areas, you know, aside just the products. But I'm sure we'll be able to work something out to go deep into some other areas, like the one I mentioned about, you know, startup and the likes. But just before I let you off, what would you? So this is a. Let me just put it to you. Let me see how you're going to give us. So, would you say? Obviously, I mean, your background in engineering will definitely have a lot of things to play. But would you say that instead of someone doing, like, if you want to get into product management, do you need to wait up until first degree, or would you say, yeah, well, just go into product management? That's one. I hope you get that question.
Yes.
All right, so that's one. Then the other is just generally, what would you advise people who want to work at big tech? I know you mentioned a few things earlier, but as a wrap up, what would you advise that if you are putting your eye on working at big tech, what are the things that only? What's the advice we give someone like that?
Okay. So the first question was talking about how do I think that product management? So do you have to go through, like, can you just pretty much study anything and then just go in? I think you can, right? It's not a bad thing, and the truth is that if I say like you study one thing, it might be very hard because some people don't know.
So I mean, you know, not studying anything. Like, if you know that you want to do product management, can you just go straight into it without having to do any other thing first from
like undergraduate?
Yes.
So first degree and then just get product management.
No, that first degree is product management.
Oh, so that's you study product management?
Yeah, guys. Yeah. Just straight up.
I mean, I think you can.
Or would you advise that do something else first and then you can then move on to products? What will you think? What do you think? Like, what's your own take on that?
That's a good question, actually. So either study product management in school or going straight into it from there, or study something else and then. I would say from that point of view, I would say study product management as an undergrad course, personally speaking. I personally don't feel there's enough information they can teach you in those years to actually get you what you need to do. And as you know, school is very theory based. It's never like practical. So you don't really get what you want. And let's say you don't want to be a PM anymore after 4 years. What do? Like you have nothing else, to show for. But I think the way to do it is study courses that allow you to read wide. So engineering, computer science, economics, those give you a really huge breadth of what you could possibly do. Finance as well. It makes you read wide because the truth is that for product management, a lot of these things come into play. They do come into play over time. From an economic standpoint, you learn more about the industry, you learn more about the market, the economy, how things work. From engineering side, it's just how to think and really be analytical. It really helps you in that sense. From a computer science point, it gives you that insight into, okay, how does tech work? What algorithms help this kind of thing function? So I would say doing PM as a course in school, I don't really think I can give you that much breadth. I think it's important for you to read wide. And when you study a course in school, I think one important thing too is, as I said, read very wide. So things like, TechCrunch, listen to Y Combinator videos, read books on product management. I'm thinking like Inspired by Martin Kagan or The Lean Startup, or it kind of gives you that wide breadth of things you could possibly know. Because they can't teach you these things in 4 years. There's just no way. You have to just read and be generally curious. Watch all these, conferences like Meta Connect, Google I/O. It really gives you that breadth of, okay, yeah, this is what happens in the industry right now. And as a PM, you need to think about, okay, yeah, these things are new technologies. How can we incorporate it into our current products, our current offerings, and, kind of how to find fit in everything that we're seeing right now. So, yeah, I would say that's kind of like my view on it.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Then I think the second part, general advice, I think that's one part of it anyway.
Yeah. General advice, I would say,
any other,
I would say you need to probably read a lot about things like this. Because as I said, if you don't do product management in undergrad, you don't really advise. You might not really know a lot about how people talk in that space or the different things that happen there. So I think to read, just read wide. I think one good source is obviously subscribe to Tech Biites for sure. That's number one. But as you do that, as you add to knowledge, you can, there's a really big platform. It's called Product School. They have a lot of free courses you can take just to learn about product management, how it works in big tech. Listen or follow people on, LinkedIn. Like I'm thinking like Jim Gonados. There is Sherez Doshi. These guys talk about product management on a daily basis. So I think it helps you over time. I didn't know how important this was because I just listened to them randomly, But over time, I began to realize that my thinking began to change about how I thought about things in product management. One thing you can do is do product teardowns. Pick any software product you like, Spotify, Apple Music, or Gmail, and break it down. Begin to ask, okay, why did they build this feature? Or who did they build this product for initially? I think that begins to help you develop your product sense of asking the right questions, knowing who the users are, the pain points they face, the solutions, why those solutions are built, and how to track success, of if your solution actually makes sense in the market. So that's kind of how I approach it, because I think that practical repetition really gives you ability to understand the space very, very well.
Awesome, really awesome point. So please, if you're here still watching and you have not subscribed, please, this is the right time you do so. A lot of value is being added here. And lastly, I would say, where can we reach you on? Do you want people where are you majorly on the internet that people can reach you on if they have questions?
Of course, you can ping me. So I have a LinkedIn, it's just Subomi Gbotosho. Type that. I believe I'm the only Gbotosho in the world, so you can find me.
Don't worry, we are going to link the description. We are going to put the link in the description of the video. But I mean, of course, you have heard from him. He's the only Subomi Gbotosho.
Yeah. So, and I think one more thing before we go. I think one thing I want to also say is people should not be scared about getting into product management. I think I've heard a lot of people saying that, they're afraid of, that can they really do it? The truth is, yes, you can. Yes, you can. If I can do it, I'm sure you can definitely do it. Because, coming from a non-technical background and getting into the space, it just might take a bit more effort, but it is possible, very, very possible. I think just put your head down. I said read books, podcasts. That's the one good podcast I really like. It's called Lenny's newsletter. amazing podcast. They have different talks with different, people about product management, but most importantly, Tech Bites. That's the most important thing here. I think is they're doing an excellent job in getting people into product management and the tech scene generally, because I think especially for Nigeria, nobody is really doing something like this. So really well done. I'm so proud of you and happy to be part of this.
Thank you. Don't worry. You are an in-house person, so we'll be calling on you at intervals. And
Anytime.
all the podcast names you mentioned, we'll also try and link them in the description so that you can easily find them. Lastly, let me say also that we actually have a Telegram channel, and I'm sure Subomi will not mind joining that channel. So if you have further questions, you think chatting immediately, would suit, just come up to that channel and have discussions as well. That would, make things quicker, I'm sure.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to always help however I can, for sure.
All right. He's currently in the US. I'm in Nigeria, and the time difference has been something to fix. So really appreciate him. And if you want to see him again, it is in your hands. And why do I say that? If this video gets the highest engagement, comments, likes, shares, we might just be able to get him on back, right?
Of course. Please comment.
Please let this video be, let it have the highest engagement and likes. Then we'll be able to get him back to throw some light in other areas. This is Dell we are talking about. Dell Technologies in the US. Come on. So let's do this and let's have him back again to share more insights. It's been fun, talking with you, and I really appreciate giving us some of your time, and we hope to have you back once again very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having
thank you for the opportunity.
Joining us. So to everyone watching, again, let me say this is Tech Bites, and we are here to help you scale your tech career, going from entry level to senior level. All the tools you need. You're a startup, you're a startup founder, you're a company, you lead a company. This is where you get everything that will help you to succeed in your tech journey. Like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.